Support for this podcast comes from the patrons at patreon.com/FMLFPL. Okay, welcome to the first Fireside Chat of the season. This is Alon. Today we're joined by Baker from the Above Average FPL pod. Baker, buddy, how are ya?
Very well, mate. Always better speaking to you.
Before we get fully into the FPL, why don't you tell our listeners what the Above Average pod is up to, where to follow you guys, where to listen, where to watch the pod, all that stuff.
All that stuff. So, anyone that knows or doesn't know us, so it's me and Adam. We do audio, YouTube, all of it. We do a lot of visual work, so therefore is always recommend the YouTube for a lot of the stuff we do. Our regular content during the season is that we'll do our sort of like team stuff on a Thursday, and we will do a review of the game week on a Sunday. So we're pretty early, straight after the games on Sunday, 8:30 UK PM time. We'll go through what we know, what we've taken from the weeks. But pre-season, it's just... that's the fun. Pre-season,
the Wild West.
It's the Wild West. We're speaking to as many people as we can speak to, looking into, trying to see what we can read, speaking to a lot of people that are better than us at FPL. Like, that's definitely the case. It's like, I don't think either of us profess to be sort of experts in the field we want to do. The whole probably premise of us is we're like, similar to you guys in that we're two mates that were mates first. Yeah. We started playing FPL. We wanted to learn more about it. We enjoyed chatting about football every weekend and was like, let's do a podcast. And it's still that. And I think we're still learning, trying to get better at the game, maybe. But,
I know too much. Yeah, I know too much. It's like, yeah, every year I do feel like I'm learning and I'm getting better. But like the opposite of that is also I'm forgetting stuff that I learned 10 years ago, right? So I'm like, I'm learning, but I'm also unlearning while I'm learning. It's sort of how I consider it.
Yeah, I guess that's probably, I think probably the difference I would say then, like me and Adam to you guys is that, your podcast was kind of born out of the fact of like, there wasn't what you wanted to have, so you just made it.
Yes, literally, exactly.
That's your world.
Yeah.
Whereas our world is that we both played FPL for a considerable number of years, very casually, very tribally, like certain teams can't have them, do all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So
I can imagine.
Yeah. Oh, fully. And it was Mo that did me. So where I live down in the southeast of England, and I'm old, and yeah. So a lot of my friends all supported Liverpool, despite the fact that we're like 200 odd miles away from Liverpool.
Yeah.
And so those type of fans were very vocal because they were about winning stuff. So sort of growing up, like Liverpool was almost like, as a Tottenham fan, a bigger sort of pain really in my side than Arsenal and Chelsea side. So those were the teams on the naughty list. I tried to get by without Liverpool. So Liverpool actually were the team that always used to be on my side because Sturridge and Suarez that season, like imagine that was. And then Mo comes in, and I was like,
beautiful season for me.
Yeah, me trying to like no Mo. Oh God, and I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. So therefore, it's then into a world of, do you know what? I either like stop playing this game or I try and get better at this game, and then it goes into the world. So I don't have any sort of preconditions of I was good at this or do this and type stuff. I'm just constantly trying to think each season. So my method type stuff is, what can I learn each season? What can I learn each season?
I love that. No, I mean that's an interesting like origin story. So how do you make FPL sort of fun for you? Because it started so casually and just a fun thing, and I'm sure you always had 3 Spurs players and you never had any Arsenal or Liverpool players, whatever it is, those kind of rules, like you said, very tribal. But now that you're trying to take it, and I always put this in quotes seriously because it's a FPL game? Like, how serious can one take this? How do you keep it fun for you and keep it fresh for you without just sort of being like, well, I'm just gonna do what the analytics say and just, follow these 20 content creators who are way better at FPL than me because,
Yeah, I get that. You've got. I mean, I play. I think I play in a quite a strange way in that I'm not particularly competitive. So, so therefore, is like I want everyone who's my friend to do well, and I don't mind. And I don't mind if they do better than me. Like, and
I don't mind that the exact inverse of that means I'm not doing well.
Yeah, well, I do mind that I'm not doing well, but I don't mind that they are. So, like, yeah, if you're 100 points ahead of me, then I'm like, yeah, go on, mate. Like, in that sense, I don't have just don't have that in me. I don't have rivalry in me in FPL because I do look at it as like 12 million players and I'm plotting my journey through this. And if you're 1,000 places ahead of me, you're not in my way. Do you know what I mean? I've got all these other people to think about. If I have to start picking individual battles, maybe I'll do that if I ever did really, really well.
I mean, I was going to say, we'll see what happens when you're OR2 and Adam's OR1 and it's game week 38.
Yeah, mate, I've always thought about that. Those guys that have been up there doing it and they're like, I'm going to go check what he's doing and stuff like that. But I don't do that in any mini leagues. I mean, I'm in loads of mini leagues, but I don't ever check them. I do never check them. Like, I've just got no interest in those things. It's just, that's not me. I prefer to think to myself, what am I learning? What am I doing? The downside to that is I don't often react particularly well. Like, I feel like because I'm very stable, like I'm like, well, I'm learning, so I'm not going to start like ripping up what I've been doing and start being quite reactionary, which is sometimes okay because it means I don't like self-combust, but it also means that necessarily I don't chase it. Last season,
you don't jump on the trendy guy that everyone has 10 weeks later.
Yeah, I'm boring. Yeah. I'm boring. That's what we're saying.
You're more conservative, more safe, not very competitive. Yeah, okay, I understand that.
But I think is what I spend each sort of season looking at and thinking about and what I potentially find fun, which does make me sound really dull, is that idea of, did I feel like I played it better this season than last season? Because the outcome can be tough.
Right. So I think what I'm learning is that what you take from FPL and what you enjoy about FPL is sort of thinking about like, how can I get better and how can I learn more? And then like you're sort of analyzing it not based on your rank and not based on your mini leagues or anything like that. You're analyzing it based on, did I make more good decisions than I did last year? And did I make less bad decisions than I did last year? And that's sort of
definitely. And I feel like I certainly feel like over the last couple of years now, you've sort of like 4 or 5 years of playing it. And I haven't reasonable results, is my results have been really solid since I've been there. And last season, still don't even know exactly what rank. I think I came in about 120k last season, which was like the sum of my previous 4 seasons combined. And I was like,
wow, okay.
But I still didn't have any seasons also within 20k. So I've just been like very solid, but not.
That's your zone. Yeah, that's your zone. You're just a solid, every day.
Yeah.
Clocking in, clocking out.
Press my buttons.
Professional FPL player. Love it.
See you next week.
So what kind of pitfalls do you avoid? What are the Baker weaknesses that you need to like be maybe more conscious of than other people, and like Adam will call you out on if it comes up?
Yeah, so my definitely easily my biggest reflections sort of last season. So one thing I did last season ridiculous was number of hits. I reacted poorly to injuries. I had a spell of like maybe 10 injuries in 12 weeks. It was just constant. And I guess I was so caught up with trying to get back on track, that I was like, I'll hit and I'll work it out. I hit, and it just kept happening. And I just kept doing it. So, and I was like, I probably should have been a bit more reflective at the time and not do that. So I don't agree with the world where they just go like, do you know what? I don't take no hits and I don't do this and that's
yeah.
Because then you're just doing it like stubbornness will say that you won't do those things and then that. But I do think I should have. When I reflect on it, I've been like, did I need to do those?
Right. Could you have just played your bad defender who's still starting and could maybe clean or whatever? I think we all run into that because you see other people's teams, right? I'm sure you talk with Adam. I'm talking with Walsh, also named Adam, by the way. Interesting. And we're saying like he has Gvardiol and blah blah blah, and I'm sitting here with like my injured guy and a bad 4-2 on my bench, and I'm like, oh man, I need Gvardiol. I can't just sit here and start. I can't start Van Heck. Like I'm just falling further behind. Yeah, I think it's I don't know what that bias is called, but that's definitely an FPL thing.
There's definitely a sort of a FOMO reactionary type world to it.
Yeah.
So that's definitely one, and then I think definitely for me last season, probably the learn that I took away. Because of my playing style, in that I do play relatively safe, that what I did do, which was almost weird, was that I went really early with my first wildcard. I went game week 6, when the world was wildcarded in game week 8, 9, 10.
Yeah.
I went early, and I'm not that. I don't have the style in me. I don't have that world to fight the masses. That's not.
Yeah.
It's not my game. So I did it. It didn't work. I got injuries, and then I'm fine. Not only am I taking hits to get rid of injured players, but other people are wildcarding with better teams still than me. And that was like, what was I doing? Like, so playing the game not to my identity, then that was where I'm like, that wasn't fun. That wasn't fun.
Right. Yeah.
And
so I mean, that's
I can't get out of it.
There is no I don't think there should be. I want to be clear about that, but there is no catch-up mechanic in FPL. There's no, we
don't know this because there's a mystery chip.
Oh yeah, I tweeted the mystery chip is going to work like Mario Kart. If you're in last place, you get the fucking lightning or whatever and shrink everyone, and now you're in first place, whatever it is. But yeah, I mean, that unending feeling of I'm behind everyone. I'm 3 players behind everyone, and everyone else is wildcarding. My team is so bad. What is the way out of that? Like, genuinely, I mean, maybe the answer is I'm just going to make no moves for 4 weeks and then use 5 free transfers this season.
Maybe it is, but I do think, placing never more so than this season, with the ability that you can carry those transfers out of the wild card, is almost nailing yourself into what is the wild card window you're going for pre-game week 1. I think is really important this season.
Interesting. Okay, why? What do you mean by that?
Because there's not huge sets of fixtures that you look at and say, wow, they're amazing in those teams. If I look at City, I think, obviously you've got Ipswich in game week 2. That's big.
Good.
But it's like an isolated one, isn't it? Type thing where you're like, oh, okay. I mean, City are great, full stop. So therefore, every game can be fantastic. But it's not like there's 7 Ipswiches in the first 7-8 weeks. That's the big ticket. If I look at Arsenal, then you look at the game week 1 and 3, brilliant. But then you move into game week 4 or 5, not so good. But then game week 6, 7, game week 6, 7, Leicester, Southampton, I need to be in on that. So you've got to start framing straight away into that world of, would I be somebody, even in those first opening periods of times with Arsenal, where I just go, I'm not going to wild card until, say, game week 8. And actually, I'm going to hold my Arsenal through Wolves, Brighton, Leicester, Southampton, and even with a squishy middle, and that's just the way it is. Am I going to be a sort of person that's going to go, actually, I'm going to attack that Arsenal opening 3, wildcard in 4, because in 4 I can just switch my world to Liverpool, and I could be, I want that Nottingham Forest Bournemouth 4-5.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be in that period where I'm going to go 1 to 3. 6 looks, people wildcarding in 6 looks popular to get Arsenal in. So therefore,
to get Arsenal guys. Yeah.
I'm going to avoid Arsenal in 1 to 5, even though there's 2 really good home games. But the other 3, Villa away, Tottenham away, City away.
Tough.
So maybe I avoid it.
It's easy to make these plans. Like, it's easy to talk about these plans, but then everything just gets thrown out the window, right? I think that like the majority of people are going to be basically play. I'm going to get a little bit of City, probably Holland. I'm going to get a little bit of Arsenal. I'm going to get a little bit of Liverpool, whatever, and then figure it out and see what's good. Just try and not lose.
And that's okay if that's you as well. Like if you're that type of player. But so, it's matching your appetite for how adventurous you want to be on players versus where you want to go in the chips. So if you're going to go fully balanced, then you do that. You do say, do you know what? I'm going to be more reactionary, so I'm going to balance out my squad. That's fine. Yeah. Don't put all your eggs in one basket and then say, but I might not do it. Like, you're not really maximizing
leaving yourself open to a wild card, but you also don't have to if the team's gone. Well, yeah.
So it's but I didn't do that last time. I'm just like, who do I want in my game week 1 team?
But that is you, right? I mean, based on what we talked about earlier, that sounds like that would be more your style. Or you don't think so?
I don't think so. No, I don't. Okay. I don't think so. I think I would. I think I'm more trying to understand what, we'll use the words like optimal chip strategy is and that type of stuff, and then go. Yeah. I think if I can, my style, I watch a lot of football.
Yeah.
I use every source, so I probably use too much in our world in that I watch every game, but I'll also use every source I possibly can.
Yeah.
To do well at the game. So I'm chucking everything in. But what I should probably do in that sense is, for me, I believe the best style for me is understand what is the right chip strategy that I like. Because it's the one that's the right strategy is the one that ends up with the most points. That's what everyone tells you afterwards.
We don't know until it happens.
Obviously the right strategy.
Obviously. Yeah.
But understand the strategy that I like, and then back myself to pick the players and the squad that I believe will beat other people.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. So you're not really, I wouldn't call that you're a conservative manager, but you're more of just like a planning type of manager. And then you work backwards from the plan. Yeah. That makes sense. Well, I'm just curious, and I'm not trying to like get you to promote FMLFPL at all, but what do you listen to and read? Because I feel like when you and Adam pod on a Sunday night is like, you're like basically the first pod, like the first FPL pod that I know of that comes out every week, that's looking at every game, like just after they basically ended, before the Monday match even happens. Mm-hmm. So what do you listen to and read and stuff in preparation for your pods?
For the pods, that's the interesting one. So
for pods and for FPL, I want both. No, I want both.
I think so. I think the pod stuff is the fun stuff, because obviously me and Adam are about to get really, really quick, because we're effectively, especially the number of games on Sundays now, and once Europa starts and there's so many games, like there's 4 2:00 games and only one's on TV. It's like,
I feel like it's at least 4 nowadays. That's minimum with how many Europa, Conference League. One showcase match, whatever, that's 5.
Yeah. So to talk about the amount of games that we do, I will try and watch as many games as possible. Mostly I watch games on my iPad. So I'll be sitting with the wife, we're happily watching whatever series I'm not paying attention to. But also just I've got in the corner of my eye my iPad and I'm watching whatever game I can be watching.
I'm just going to keep interrupting you and asking you follow-up questions, but just because that's the vibe of the pod. But how do you watch? Like, some people, I don't mean like what illegal streaming sites are you on. I mean, like, what are you watching? Because I think that is something that I'm trying to pay more attention to. because my gut instinct is to be like, oh, there's like 6 matches on. I'm gonna watch 3. But when you watch 3, you really watch none. You're kind of just listening for the commentator's voice to like go up, and then you look over and see something happen. But you're not actually watching like, oh, this is how this team is building up, and oh, this is how this team is pressing, or whatever specific thing. But I'm just curious, like, because again, like you pod so immediately after the matches, so you kind of need to like know everything that's going on, right? So what are you mainly? Do you find that you're mainly watching players, or like what are you watching?
Yeah, so I will just genuinely watch if there's multiple games at the same time. Just watch one game. I don't tend to flick through there. I might just go and look at. I'll always keep up with sort of the goals and some of it. There's certain like Twitter accounts which will show basically every goal as they go in.
Yeah, the highlights.
So you're watching goals as they go in. You're thinking about them and thinking what more I want to see. Other than that, mostly. And I'll catch all highlights and things like that, that we can watch and those things. But realistically, the best way is for us to then translate a lot of the data that we'll see. Or what I'll do is before maybe watching the highlights, I'll look at certain things. So the things that I would almost always look at, I'll look at a stats-based site, like the likes of, SofaScore, for example, something like that. And just see some basic information. One of the accounts I never miss every single game is the Mark Our Stats bot. So Mark Our Stats bot, because for every single game, it will automatically show you not just the stats, but the next thing I'll be looking at is the pass map. So I'll look at the pass map and I'll look for certain. So I'm immediately looking for shape. How did they set up through the pass map? I'll then look at, is there certain positions of that is out of position, because that's all we want in the world, isn't it? Out of position, anything we want.
This guy should be here. I expected him to be here, and he's up here.
Yeah, and certain weird things about like where do they not pass to. So I give an example, like when as a Tottenham fan, when like Dragusin came in for Van der Ven, what you could immediately show from the pass map is by not having a left-sided centre back. The ball never just kept going left. It would always come in. So therefore, it's back there, but it impacts so much more that the ball tends to end up top right.
Right.
Because it's harder to switch across. So it's thinking about those type of things of that pass map. Who is that going to hurt? And then what you'll then get under the pass map is then you'll get how they set up out of possession and in possession. Again, similar stuff, like, because that can really sort of start to sway you on certain things of how they are, especially when you watch games in the eye. Like pass maps might tell you that somebody's playing quite deep, but what you notice. So Bruno's one. It's a really key one that I see on this one is when I like Bruno as an asset. Is when he's the highest presser. So he often will do that, and he does it more and more normally later in games, is that he starts pressing the centre-backs much, much higher. But he never touches the ball there. So it never turns up on a pass map, never turns up on any of those stats and so forth. But those are the times when he's doing that more often, you're like, well, this is when he's more likely to get played in.
Right.
That's when he's more likely to be the point. If he's not doing that, then I'm like, that's not the Bruno I'm after.
Yeah, that's a
tight space.
Because I never really look at pass maps, but it is interesting what you can learn, and what I think there's also like lots of red herrings there because of what you just said, right? It's like so and so may not touch the ball all game, but they're by far the most dangerous player on the team if you watch, right? Like someone like Son, I think will pop up in that way sometimes, right? Let's say he gets caught offsides 4 times. The ball, like the progression, is going through the right side of Spurs all game. So he's never on the ball. He's never in build-up. But that far post cross is looking for him literally every single time. And there's another day he's scoring a hat trick, even though he may not have any XG or touches to show for it. Yeah, so there's it's like marrying was a really good example. Sorry, say really good example.
Munoz at Palace was a really good example of that. Of somebody that was always there but never actually touched it. So you look at the pass maps and he just looked like a right back, and you watch it and you're like, who's that right forward? Like, and it's
who's that winger?
Yeah, but after a little while, when he's not touching the ball there all the time, you start thinking to yourself do I get overexcited about this person because of where he is when he's actually never going to touch the ball?
Right.
Because after a while, it's just, they don't pass to him.
Right. They're not touching, they're not giving him the
not
ball
what- that's not his
instructively because he's not good at the things that we want him to be good at. Or, you can make up so many stories, but yeah.
Exactly. Tactically, he might just be the person they put there because it then creates more room for Mateta. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
To do the stuff like. But I will look at those things to give me an idea really quickly of what I'm expecting to see with my eyes, and then I'll go look with my eyes and then go, does this match up? And that's how we'll then talk on Sundays.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if FPL was more of a full-time job and all I ever did, I would love to watch every match. Like I definitely, like, not obviously simultaneously. I would spend the week watching every match, taking notes of what I saw, matching that to like the data and past maps and like making a, huge red flag of like, this doesn't match up with this and this doesn't match up with that. And this player's better than his numbers and this player's worse than his numbers. And like doing that, but no one has time for that. No one has time for 20 hours of matches a week.
And part of that is, I would say, so you go to the side of where people would say it's like not watching, which is the analytics side of the world.
Yeah. Spreadsheet warriors.
So those worlds, but like they have unbelievable tools at their fingertips in terms of planning, in terms of solves that will tell them the optimal paths and players of which they need to be. And we've just literally just said we can only do so much in that world.
Yeah.
But we want to take on that world.
Yeah. Right.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
Doesn't line up.
So
yeah.
It doesn't line up.
We have this much information out of the whole match week versus, they have 10 years of data.
Which is why they do so well.
Yeah, right. I mean, when you put it that way, it makes so much sense. Yeah, you're playing from behind no matter what.
So I'm, I'm very analytics curious.
Yeah.
I'm not good at it, like in that sense, and I'm clearly with the number of hits that I take is I've not been sort of disciplined at it. But I understand the value of it, and you can't help but recognize the results of it,
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm very open in that world to understand is once I've passed my Sunday talking about all the games, I will tend to then move more into what is the data, what is the analytics showing me as the pathway. So it's definitely something that. I'm
curious about it too. I haven't actually used it ever or signed up or anything, but I think that, there's like many different types of people who play the game. I think some people play and they just use the tools and don't look at anything else, and that's their team, and they're happy with that. And I'm happy for them, right? Like they found their happy place, and who am I to take that away from them? But I think that like I'm so into the other stuff, like the unknown, that I would have the discipline to look at it and not be too influenced, like how you just said, like you weren't really listening to it and still taking hits. But I just think it's interesting more than anything else. I just think it's interesting and cool.
And I would suggest anyone there's a analytics community Discord. It's an open Discord. There's
I'm in there.
Get in there, like the chat. Like yesterday afternoon, so people would be like, FPL review launched, and people would be like, well, that's just robot teams now. Let's get that.
Yeah.
Mate, there must have been well over 1,000 messages between about midday and about 8 o'clock UK time last night.
Yeah.
Like that's a serious amount of chat. There's no eye test chat that's doing that kind of work of what they're talking into, what they're doing. And they spend more time just thinking, it just helps me more is think more in the paths. I'll give you this tweet. There's a tweet, a guy called Dilksy, really good guy on Twitter, Dilksy at DilksyBab on Twitter.
How do you spell that? Because no one's going to know what the hell you just said.
Okay. Dilksy. B-A-B.
Got it. Yeah.
But he said, something a tweet last that really, really did resonate me. There was sort of some discourse going back and forth around analytics. And he said, most people spend a lot of time thinking about or assessing players, but most analytics managers spend more of their time thinking about or analysing the paths or the lines their solves generate. So they're like more in the world of, rather than we're like, we like that player, I want him in my team, they're always on about, okay, so we've got this path, and if I was to pick that player, then who does that mean I would not get in this week and this week, and where does that
trickle down effect of a player? Yeah.
Exactly, and the fixtures. Right. And when you think about the fact that we play a game with one transfer a week, like the path's really important.
It's really important. Yeah.
And
it's true. It's spot on. It's spot on.
And so even if you're not going to use those tools, spend more time in the path world.
Yeah.
But again,
right.
Can you do that as well as what they can? No.
Right.
So,
but we can try at least, right? Like
you can try at least.
Because it's the type of thing, that's the type of like basic idea that I think is irrefutably correct. Whereas like even the most anti-analytics FPL player in the world could still be like, well, I should still look 5 weeks ahead to see what getting this player in means for my team. That's all we're saying. It's just look.
Exactly.
Think about it.
That's the good anti-analytics manager.
Yes.
Like the bad analytics, it's just like, this is evil. We can't do that.
Yeah.
But same guy, Dilksy said is after I sort of like I quoted his tweet on our end of season review. So I messaged me. It was like, the thing is, like, most good managers already think that way anyway. Like Zoff from The Wire, I think it is like I was like feeling him like the human soul. So he doesn't use reviews, doesn't use that stuff. But he's constantly, when he's looking at his transfers, be thinking, well, what does that do for me next week, the week after? Where would that be?
That's
when does
old,
that?
In a way, that's old school FPL. I mean, back in the day, 10 years ago, Fantasy Football Scout, that's all we had, right? It was 4 to 6 weeks. That was like the number for some reason that was always, put on the fixture ticker and whatever. It was just, what does this do for 4 to 6 weeks? Next 4 to 6 weeks, who do I want? And like, and that's just how we thought about the game. I think through sort of like data falling into the wrong hands and through like being overwhelmed with all the numbers and highlights and all the stuff, we maybe
social
lost
media.
And social media, and we lost a bit of that.
And that. It's
and
like
the FOMO,
we're chasing that high.
Yeah, the FOMO that you mentioned earlier, right? Like, I think Zoff is so good at not caring about FOMO in a way. Like, he'll be like, yeah, like, I agree that so-and-so is a good pick and he would be better. My team would be better if I had him. But that is not the current path that I'm on. So I'm just like completely forgetting that he even exists for now. Unless something astronomically bad happens, he hat tricks and people captained him and I'm way behind it. Okay, I got to just get Palmer, whatever it is. But like, I think that he's good at just being like, the path that I'm on means that I'm either getting X or Y and Z is not in the picture. And that's a good way to think about it. Yeah.
I mean, the whole Twitter bubble, I mean, you try to stay away from the pain of that one, but you're in there. And, we see someone every week that'll, tweet out they had John McGinn captain or something like that, and it worked out well for them. And therefore, there's that part sometimes that plays into people's brains when they pick, but if I do this one and it comes off, like, look at me. Like,
yeah, exactly. All right, let's move on from planning and analytics and that stuff. I mean, I think that to go back to Above Average FPL Pod, I haven't listened to your guys' season ending review yet. I want to do that before the season starts. I haven't listened to your BPS episode. I haven't listened to the Ted Knutson episode about, I'm assuming, new transfers and other stuff. So that's all
mostly
on
new transfers and set plays. If anyone loves set plays,
I don't, but I'm interested. Yeah, okay.
Oh my God.
So
it got nerdy as hell on set plays last night.
So those are like 3 on my personal list that I want to get to. And so maybe we just won't talk about that stuff here because it already exists there. I'm just curious, like, sort of where your tinkers are sort of lying right now. Like, where are you at on, let's just start with Haaland. I mean, is he in all of your drafts? Is he in none of your drafts? Is he in some and not others? Do you have a plan to get him in? Do you have a plan to get him out? Are you free hitting in game week 2 like me? What's the deal?
Yeah. So game loads, game comes up, put your first team in.
Haaland's in.
No.
Okay.
My first tinker.
Okay.
No Haaland.
Love to hear it. Okay.
I was straight in on Watkins, Isak, Muniz. I was like, I love that front three. And it means I can have Mo. It means I can have at least, 2 of the 10s.
Saka or Son or
Palmer, Son, Foden. 2 of those guys, basically. Yeah. A Gordon I can have in that world, and then I've got to have a 4.5 to go with him. So I have a Gordon, a couple of premium ones, and Mo. So it's strong.
Super strong.
Guardiola probably, and then 4.5s or 4.0s. Just put them along those ones. Cheap as hell in goal. And I'm like, yeah, God, it looks great. But it doesn't have Haaland.
And then,
but it doesn't have Haaland.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely swaying more to I would like Haaland.
Okay.
I definitely think if I was to sway to Haaland, I'm not currently in a world where I fully enjoy the Haaland and Mo draft.
Okay.
But I'd like to be. I'd like to be in that.
That's where you'd like to be, but you haven't found a team that you're happy with.
Because it's quite inflexible, isn't it? Because you've then got a huge amount of money tied up. That's a problem. If I'm looking at that, if I'm looking at the Mo and Haaland world, I'm probably avoiding Arsenal completely.
Yeah. Same. I mean, the draft that I have is basically that. Yeah.
And then wild carded in game week 6.
To get 3 Arsenal in for the good run.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a very reasonable take on Arsenal.
I think that's the time you jump off Liverpool, jump off Mo potentially with, you've got Wolves, Palace away, Chelsea at home, Arsenal away. It's slightly lesser run.
I mean, even time to do it. Brighton, we don't know how good they're going to be, but Brighton and Villa back to back, like those aren't easy. I think that makes sense. Yeah.
So that's the nice place, but you feel like you need to see enough around the edges that say, okay, I'm cool. I'll be all right on that. You probably not only avoid Arsenal, but you probably avoid Palmer too.
Yep.
In that draft.
Which I'm comfortable with their fixtures, even though I think the world of him. I just think, early doors, like, I'm not too enthusiastic about their attack in general with their fixtures. I think they have like some of the worst in the league on paper fixtures. And so I know I'll be there eventually. I'm really in cuckoo curious. I love Palmer. I'll double up on them when it's time. I just don't think it's, game week 1. So I think accepting that makes it a lot easier to go, Haaland, Mo. Yeah.
And that's the point is so I'm accepting, and I just keep putting it back in. I'll accept the player with the path, like to an extent, is for me, the only reason why I would go in on both is I'm definite wildcard 6.
Yeah.
That's where I feel I'll be. The issue, I guess, when you go to that one is if there are other sort of, like I say, inflexibleness because you're then strict and imbalance in your budget, is if your plan A does not work, you've got a much smaller pool to move to plan B. because you've got so much money tied up there. So it's really putting it into that.
That's like a double-edged sword, because it's true, but at the same time, you can get any player in the game. Right? Like Mo, you have so much money. Right, like you have so much money in Mo. If Plan A, if Plan A isn't working, that means that like Mo and Haaland aren't crushing it, right? I mean, like, because if they're crushing it, even if Arsenal guys are doing well, you're fine because you have Mo and Haaland. But if Plan A is not working, to me, it means probably Liverpool are having a slow start with their new manager, or Haaland hasn't hit the ground running, or whatever. And you get rid of Mo, and you can get 2 amazing midfielders, or and a great upgrade your cheap forward and upgrade a different midfielder or something like that. So I don't think it's emergency or like a bad. Or sorry, not that. Like, I don't think it's inflexible to have all your money in 2 places, because it makes your transfers easier if there's someone you need to move to. Whereas, like, if your money is really spread out and you just have a bunch of like 7 through 9 million guys, and you need to get to Mo or you need to get to Haaland or something, that's like a triple move minimum. Yeah,
and there's plenty of options. Yeah, do you know what I mean? It's not like we'll spend a lot of time when you have that sort of draft worrying about the players that you have not got. Yeah. But like that you'll have your players, and your players also score points.
Also score points all the time.
That is some of the issues. So I think if I was to like nail on that, the wild card 6 is the way that I'm looking at. I'll come around to it, if the right options come out. But it's understanding that, okay, those are the players are not. I'm quite curious about the early-ish wildcard. So the game week 4. So you've got the international break.
God, that's really early.
It's really
early. What are you gaining if you're doing that? Like, planning-wise, like, what are you looking at there?
You've got to lean into Arsenal on that one. So that's like a triple Arsenal world.
But it's just like, so let's just play it out, right, in our planning heads, right? So you're tripling Arsenal because they have home Wolves in 1 and home Brighton in 3. And then you're wild carding out your Arsenal for away Spurs, away City. And then you don't have Arsenal for home Leicester and home Southampton.
And then want them back.
Like, that can't be efficient. Like, that can't be the way.
It feels aggressive. It feels aggressive, and it feels like it might not be the way. But maybe, look, there'll be some people that potentially do that. They annihilate it for 3 weeks. Yeah. You can have some. You could lean into some teams like, for example, Forest with that Bournemouth and Wolves.
Yeah,
it's still Forest, but there's
Forest, but
other
they
people.
Score goals sometimes.
There's Brentford again. Game week 2 is the weird one, isn't it? Because of Liverpool away, but Palace and Southampton. If Bumo's in, Bumo's on pens, does all that stuff. You could lean in on there. You could triple up on City if you want. Like,
I mean, I'm so obsessed with my little free hit 2 strategy that I think in my head I'm just like, fuck free hit. Like, I hate the chips. Don't want to think about them. Don't want to plan for them. Like, what about a free hit game week 5 strategy? City and Arsenal play each other.
It'll
be a 0-0.
It's not going to be me. Because it's not going to be, and that's why I feel like I'm like, should I try and talk you out of that or do that? Well, you don't play it like I play it, so therefore why should I do those worlds of it? But my world is, I will be really worried about the big free hit week because that others are going to choose, and it'll freak me out. And what I'll end up doing is choosing really weird paths to try and counteract that I'm not down in that week, and then actually I've taken my eye off the ball and other stuff, and it just won't work for me. So do I think I've never really, I don't think with free hit or bench boost I'll get myself particularly excitable in doing that kind of world. It's just, and that's more the case, is I think everyone will look at those ones and be like, yeah, I like that because I don't get that. And it's like, okay, what will you do when that happens? And you'll be like, would I react in a good way, how would that be? Like free hit absolutely annihilated me last season in that I did it in the game week 29, the small blank and nothing happened. And then obviously Mateta and everyone else who did what they did in 34. And it was like, well, that's that.
It's the worst possible way that it could have gone down for you. Like the blank, nothing happened. No one scored any points except for Anthony Robinson, who no one owned except me. And then the other end of the double game week, the most goals fucking ever were scored and all the points were against. So, I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, I think what you said is ringing true for me is like, I think I do need to, I think in the most recent seasons, personally, I've been more just like, I'm just kind of playing FPL and doing pods, and I'm not really thinking about like, selfishly me, what do I want to get out of this and what am I enjoying or not enjoying about the game. I'm just kind of going through the motions and playing and like looking forward to the pods, but not really looking forward to FPL at all. I think the way that I get excited is by doing that stuff that no one else is doing and trying to like beat the field with an unconventional strategy or pick.
Yeah, but and then again, that's where I'm like, analytics world, like they have such a bigger variance in terms of how the strategy that they play compared 100%. To what we play in that world. So again, if I do point you one place for ours on the end of season pod that we did, we looked at like our mini league, we looked at like the overall league, and then we looked at the analytics Bullet Wisdom League, which was just king of the world.
Yeah.
And the variation in the top 10 of strategy for that Bullet Wisdom compared to the variations that was seen in ours, it was literally everyone was exactly the same. Like wild card 8. Yeah. Triple captain 25. Yeah. Right. And it was either free hit 29, but then I wild carded, so therefore I was okay, or you free hit in 34.
Everything's like 75% this, 25% the other option.
Exactly. But the variation was there on it. So and that's why I'm like, if people are more adventurous, well, leaning more into that and saying, what
was it like in the Bullet Wisdom Analytics League? Was it a lot more varied? Oh, it's just all over the place?
Everywhere. Yeah.
Because of the paths, I guess it's like naturally diverging. It's like you make one different, it's like the butterfly effect or something. It's like you make one move and it changes your game week 30 team without even months ahead of time.
But also I think everyone thinks that people that just work in the analytics must be like some kind of weird like reflective robot type person that has to do that. So but they're still like us, where they have the same sort of different personalities, and you'll have adventurous analytics people that are like, do you know what? I want to find the fun way of doing this. What do I do? Where
it almost like brings out your own personality more. Like, because you can be a conservative manager and go into analytics and have the most conservative like draft and parameters, and then it spits out the most conservative team. Or you can be adventurous and be like, no. None of this. Like, I want the highest ceiling, whatever your parameters are, and spits out the most crazy team you've ever seen.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And the one thing I think probably from, me and you, like we talk regularly, we speak, and
we got a WhatsApp going.
Last season, and last season, I definitely think the one thing I would say from you is that understanding of when to play the wild card, because it was just like, it was like
nightmare.
You had it, but you didn't know what you were going to do with it, and you just kept thinking on that first one, and then once you'd done the first one, you were like, well, that has just ruined me, and now it was like, when do I do my next one? And it was so if I was thinking about the things that either got a little tilty or got a little anxious in that world,
big tilty, I would say,
it was them.
Yeah,
it was them.
Yeah.
Like for the likes of, I like to hope we talk so much football, we watch so much football. Like, people listen to us. Surely we must know a fair bit that's worthwhile.
Yeah, you would think
that we can do okay with our picks.
Yeah, you would think.
But maybe somebody else needs to tell us what the strategy is.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I need someone to shrink the pool down to, you know, a smaller amount of players and teams and be like, I'm just going to pick from these teams instead of like picking from all teams, or, you know, whatever it is to hone it in more or something like that. But yeah, maybe I need to get Sir Talbot or something and actually do like a review thing, because I think I'm so close to just doing it anyway. I just really, I said this, I think, to, man, who was it? I think it was FPL Salah Abdul. I think it was him. It was like 3 seasons ago, maybe, or something like that. And it was just like analytics are just starting and FPL reviews just starting. And I was like, yeah, I just want it to be like my objective friend that will just always tell me how it is with no bias. Like, that's what I want it to be. It's like the Walsh is on one shoulder, and we know who's the angel and devil in this situation. If you listen to FMLFPL, Walsh is on one shoulder, FPL reviews on the other shoulder, like telling me, you know, their different ideas of what the game is.
You know, Daddy's in a bad mood.
A classic. Oh, you know, a classic. Yeah.
A classic.
Yeah.
Anyone listen to this that hasn't, search YouTube, Daddy's in a bad mood, FMLFPL. It's the finest of finest. That's review.
Yeah.
That's literally it.
Yeah.
Like when Walsh is saying Ferron, you're like,
yeah.
Minutes?
Yeah. Yeah, right.
You've got no defenders?
Right. That's all.
Like, you were his review. Like, that's how it was.
Yeah. I mean, me and Walsh are just old school. You and Adam similarly have been mates for a long time, playing for a long time. Is we just rely on each other to be sort of the review. And I could be in a bad mood. I could be having tilted at the game. And Liverpool are off a loss. I'm sad, whatever. And I'm still treated as like this objective, you know, person to bounce ideas off of, where it's like, I'm not. It's like, I'm not feeling it right now. And I'm not like seeing the game well, you know?
I've not been to, but so is it on Fridays you do the live
stream? Yeah.
With those on. I'm sure I remember hearing, didn't you have your boy Jack in on those?
Oh, Jack's in on everyone. He's an animal. He finished like top 50 analytics.
And Jack's so what did Jack used to say during those things? Like when he come on to you, how did that conversation used to play out?
Yeah, at least the way we did it last season, which was our first season doing it, was an RMT, Rate My Team live stream on Friday. So we would just bring up whoever's teams is in the chat room, right? So like Ben's in the chat. He posts a screenshot of his team. We bring Ben on to talk with me, Walsh, and Ben, and look at his team and just, you know, talk about it. So it wasn't that like it was an open combo and everyone's talking the whole time. It was like, okay, now let's bring on Jack. The first thing about Jack is he would always have insider info. There is no one more plugged in than Jack. He just knows things by like being on the right WhatsApp groups and the right Discords. But the other thing is that like, yeah, he always, well, not always, but a lot of the times he would have these outlandish ideas about like, no, it's time to get, you know, Doug Luiz, or it's time to get, you know, Morris or whatever. And we're just like, oh, get
Gibbs White.
Yeah, Gibbs White. Like, get out of here, dude. Like, what are you actually talking about? And then, you know, next week, Jack's ranked 19th in the world, and that transfer was really good. We're like, wow, Jack, just tell us what's going to happen. You know, just like give us the goods. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to have all the different characters in there. But yeah, Jack is certainly a main character.
I mean, it's a stunning season. That's unreal. Like, but you've got all these people. One of the things I find interesting is that, and that's just that world with, say, analytics versus FML is I'm in both servers, and there's a lot of mutuals.
Oh yeah. I'm in the double pivot Discord also. And I just see dudes popping up. They're just like from our Discord. They've been in our Discord for 5 years, and I'm like, "Oh, dude, like didn't even know you're in here," you know.
But yeah, we all look to glean whatever edges we can in this game and talk as many people, and we just all like talking football.
We just love football. That's really the bottom line. And if FPL is making you love football less, then you're playing in a style that doesn't suit you, I think is like really what I would say.
1 million.
And that's been happening to me lately. And so I think my preseason journey, and we'll see how long I can make it last, is like I need to find myself as an FPL player and figure out like how can I make this the most fun for me. But I think it sounds like you kind of have figured that out for yourself, and you have your way of doing things and you like it. Love that for you. And I hopefully,
or at least feel closer to it.
or closer to it. Maybe no one's ever
do you know what I mean?
Really there.
Yeah, it is. It's that's like, I'm like, oh, I like that. Oh, I did not like that.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
And we get there.
abort.
And the outcomes will get there. The outcomes will get because there is so much luck in this game. Like there is
100%.
Like for all and anything else,
everyone would agree.
But I'm like, this is all training. We play every season and it's all training, and it's not the real one.
Yep.
But the real one's when you get really lucky. That's the real one.
Yeah.
That's the real me.
Yeah, exactly.
When it happens.
Exactly.
But I'm like, what can I do that makes it to an extent where I'm like, I've done all the stuff in the right way that I would like to play. I've played in a style, I've picked in a style, I've done something that I'm happy with. And if I keep then learning that and doing that, at some point, surely all your number comes up at some point.
Right. Yeah, exactly. There's one season where all of the will this work just comes off and you're just flying.
Yes.
I mean, it's got to happen. Surely it's got to happen.
That's why we play.
Yeah.
That's why we turn up every year.
Yeah, that's it. That's feels like a good place to end a pod. I'm glad that it went in this like sort of self-reflective zone that it ended up going in. And yeah, dude, thanks so much for coming on.
Always a pleasure. We'll talk a lot more.
I'm gonna get on those above average, episodes that I need to catch up on, and that's it, dude. Any last words?
No, pleasure. We'll so let's just work that through. Your current plan. Just give me a current plan.
Oh my God. Well, everything is up for debate now, but my current idea is no Haaland, free hit in game week 2 to captain Haaland and go triple city, and then move on from there. So basically playing the game as if game week 2 doesn't exist, which would mean that Arsenal have unreal fixtures because you miss the away Villa. It just gets better. Maybe not unreal. Maybe that's, over egging it. Villa have unbelievable fixtures because you're missing the Arsenal fixture. It means that City's fixtures are even worse because you're removing the Ipswich fixture. There's just a bunch of trickle downs like that make it honestly much easier to construct a team. But, Haaland could screw me, and then I'm sitting here, me and you are talking gaming 5, and I'm, rank 5 million because I didn't start with Haaland, and it is what it is. I think I would be happier because I took my swing and I just went for it versus I just go for some safe-ish kind of team and I'm doing kind of okay, and that's like the norm, and then I'm just kind of like going through the motions. So what about you? What's your like current plan?
Yeah, like I say, I want to work. Ideally, I'd work to a lovely state where it's. I think Haaland will work his way into my team.
Yeah,
that's my feeling on it. I feel I'm a lot more confident in Haaland working his way into my team. To Mo. But hey, we've got a long pre-season of seeing how Arnie does,
injuries
and minutes
and transfers.
What can you take from it, and all of those type of stuff. The transfer, like you guys haven't made any transfers as yet.
0. Just outgoings. Yeah.
So yes, I think I will end up with Haaland.
Yeah,
it's my gut. I'm not sure.
He's good. I've heard he's good.
If I will, he's all right.
Yeah,
he's all right. I'm not sure on Mo. But I think that it's you look at the no Mo and I'll be like, who am I captain in game week 1?
That's another. I'm giving myself a lot of homework this episode. I need to listen to 3 above average episodes. I need to listen to our postmortem I still haven't listened back to, etc. But another piece of homework is I need to make a captain matrix of some sort for like the first 6 game weeks, because if it ends up that like, okay, I'm capping Holland in game week 2, but every other week I'm just captaining Mo, which I haven't done it yet, so I haven't really looked. But if that ends up being it, then I should not be free hitting in game week 2. I should just have both of them and I'm just good to go, you know? But if it works out that like, actually I'd rather captain, you know, Ollie and Palmer and like random guys, then it's like, okay, I can talk myself into going against Holland more because I'm happier with these guys, you know? So that's some homework I need to do. Yeah.
Makes sense.
All right, dude. Cheers. And talk very soon.